Okay, chapter 11, Bifrate Midat Hanekiyut, elements of the trait of blamelessness. This is a very long chapter. I'm not sure we're going to finish it today. We'll try to put a dent in it, and then we'll hopefully, Be'ezrat Hashem, finish it next week. Prate Midat Hanekiyut Rabim Hemeod. The details of this trait are many. There are many, many details. That's why the chapter is so long. V'inam kechol hapratim shebechol hashesa mitzvot lo ta'aseh. And there are so many particulars because obviously there are 365 lo ta'aseh, and each one of the lo ta'aseh have various particulars inside them. Ki omnam inyan midah kvar amarti. I already said that this trait is basically a person has to be free of any of the ramifications of any of these 365. That he's not just not performing the sin as it is, but he's not even performing things that are close to that sin that could lead him to that level. And we know that the Yetzirah and all the sins tries to make the person sin. The more the person's desire has for these sins, the more his nature, the more his heart is going to try, the Yetzirah is going to try to convince him to go after them. So for these things, he has to have an increased level of strength, an increased level of power in order to overcome the evil inclination, and to be cleaned and to be blameless regarding these sins. And this is what our rabbis taught us. That these two sins, which we said before, what did we say? We said Rubam bagezel, mu'atam ba'arayot, right? We said that before, yes? So those two sins, gazel, which is thievery, and arayot, which are sexual sins, the person has a tremendous desire for these things, which means a person has to have increased level of vigilance not to fall into the trap of these types of sins. It's a higher level of watchfulness. We see we see that most people are not thieves. Most people are not thieves. That they're really going to put their hand and take someone else's money, and to put it in their pocket. Really? This is what Jewish people are known for, being thieves, chas v'shalom? Most of them taste the taste of thievery. In their business dealings, meaning they see a heter for themselves to try to be ahead and to become wealthier. Which means they justify and they say, listen, it's business. I'm involved in business. Obviously, there has to be a little bit of transfer of money in business. This is the problem. This is exactly the problem. We know there are many, many different lotas with regarding stealing. Lo tignov, which means don't steal. Lo tigzol, don't embezzle. Lo tashok, do not oppress your neighbor. Lo techachashu v'lo teshakru ish b'amito, do not deal falsely and do not lie to one another. Lo tonu ish dahiv, you shall not defraud one another, which means overcharge somebody for something. Lo tasigvu re'acha, do not overtake the border of your friend, which means we just went through 6, I think it's 6 he gave, yes? 6 examples? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He gave 6 examples of lo ta'aseh that are all connected to gezel. Hen kol ele chilukei dinim shebegezel kolim ma'asim rabim min ha'ma'asim ha'nasim bichlal ha'masav ha'matan ha'medini. And if we look at the details of all 6 of these sins, we see that the details, we find that this is sometimes common practice in business dealings between people. It's not just taking the money from your friend. It's not just, embezzling the money from your friend. That's not allowed. Which means even if it's indirect, he indirectly becomes enriched at the negative expense of his friend. This is this trait here, which means there's still a level of isur for that. And this is what our rabbi said regarding this issue. He did not defile his neighbor's wife. That he did not encroach on the other person's trade, which means this is also, he brought up two examples. Basically, Eshet Rehu, which is his friend's wife, and also he did not go into his friend's business. Ukvar haya Rabbi Yehuda oseh lechen vani, and Rabbi Yehuda forbade a storekeeper shelo yachlek klayot ve'egozim latinakot to give out nuts and seeds to children, because what happens if the storekeeper gives the children nuts and seeds? What's going to happen? The children are going to be accustomed to coming to him. Which means they wanted to make this not allowed. They wanted to make this forbidden. Why? And so the sages permitted this. Why did they permit the storekeeper to give? Because other storekeepers can do this. So therefore, since other people do it, then it's okay. Rabbis taught us, Kashe gezel hedyot mi gezel gavoa. It is more difficult to steal from an ordinary person than it is to steal from God. Because this one, basically, the sin is mentioned before the me'ilah. Me'ilah is when you steal from God, and the other gazel is when you steal from your friend. So we see the gezel is mentioned in the Torah before the me'ilah, before the stealing from God. Okay. וכבר פטרו את הפועלים העושים אצל בעל הבית מברכת המוציא וברכות אחרונות וברכת המזון. And we see that workers who work for somebody are patur from birkat hamotzi and brachot achronot, which means to make ala mechia, and birkat hamazon, va'afil b'kriyat shma lo chiyuvum libatel mimelachtan. And even kriyat shma, they don't have to. Why? Because if they're paid by the hour, what happens? You're going to take off time from your employer who's paying you by the hour, and you're going to take 15 minutes to say birkat hamazon. That's stealing from your employer. So therefore they said you don't have to say Birkat HaMazon. Ela bifrasha rishona bilvad, but only to say the first parasha, which means Kriyat Shema, the first parasha only a person has to say. The rest he doesn't have to say, because the first parasha, the storekeeper will allow him to do that. He'll be okay with that. But the other two, it's just too much time. Kal v'chomer ben benoch kal v'chomer, even more so, l'divrei harashut, things that are permitted. Shekol sechir yom asur bahen shelo levatel melachto shel baal habayit. Any person who is a day laborer is not allowed to, not be working for that person the entire time that he was hired. V'im avar harazeh gazlan, and if he took himself a 15 or 20 minute coffee break because the boss went out for a couple of minutes, he's a gazlan. Unless, of course, the boss permitted him to take a coffee break. So 1199 saves all these employees from doing that, okay? But a person has to have that ahead of time. And when this Rabbi Abba Chilkiah was working, this person Abba Chilkiah was working, he would not answer the Talmidei Chachamim when they come to say shalom to him. Why? For that split second, he diverts his concentration from the work that he's doing. He's afraid that this is gezel, that he's not devoting himself as much as he can to earning money for his employer. The Yaakov Avinu alav shalom mevaer b'fi ve'omer, and Yaakov Avinu explained very, very clearly, Hayiti bayom achalani chorev v'kerach balayla vatidad shinati me'inai, which means Yaakov Avinu was saying, what? That it was then the day the scorching heat ravaged me and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes, which means Yaakov Avinu took very, very seriously the fact that Lavan was paying him. Even though Lavan was a trickster and a liar, Yaakov Avinu didn't feel himself justified to take liberties with Lavan. What about people who, while they are working, they're involving themselves their own business? They involve themselves in personal advantage. What do we see today? What would be an example of this? The person is being paid by the hour, and while his employer is paying him, he's checking his Facebook. He's checking his emails, not his business emails. He's checking his personal emails on company time. That is called gezel. Strong, huh? Very, very strong. That's how my rabbi used to say, it's much better not to be an employee, but to be an employer. Because then when you're the employer, if you're going to slack off, okay, you're hiring yourself. It's different. But when you're working for somebody, first of all, it's very hard. It's harder to get bracha when you're working for somebody, because then every penny, every dollar that you make is counted by that person. That's how you get paid. If you're counting your own money, that's one thing. But other people counting your money takes away the bracha from it. But we see here in our day, in our generation, this is a huge problem. How many people that go to work in an 8-hour day, how many hours do they actually work for their boss? Or what they do is, while they're working for their boss, they have a little side business going on the side that they, whatever. But of course, the boss knows it. If the boss is okay with it, then it's not a problem. Klalo shel davar. Hasachur etzel havero le'eze melacha shetiyeh. One person is hired by another person to do a certain type of job. Hine kol she'otav mechurot hen lo leyomo. All of his hours of that day that he's working are sold to the employer. Ka'inyan shamur zichron v'cha, like our rabbi said, sichirut mechira leyomeh. When a person is hired, it's like he's selling his hours of the day, which means if he's hired for 8 hours, what he really means is he sold 8 hours of his life to this person. And if he takes any liberties with this time of his employer, this is considered to be gezel gamur. This is considered to be outright thievery. And if the employer does not forgive it, it's not forgiven. Shekvar amru rabotenu zichron racha. Rabbis already taught averot sheben adam lahavero, sins that are between two people. En yom kippurim mechaper ad shiratzet havero. First, he has to go to his friend. He has to go to his friend and say, "I sinned against you." So we see that one of the people you have to ask mechila for when you have a job and you're working for somebody, you have to ask mechila from the employer. Heavy duty. He said this trade is not easy.
Yeah, if you work for a corporation, what do? You go find the CEO and it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Again,
a person has to be, listen, certain things in your corporation, you can go to the bathroom. That's no one's going to criticize you go to the bathroom. I think there's this, you could ask your boss, I need to take a 15-minute break. Is that okay? If your boss says yes, then it's fine. And maybe it's already understood that you have to take a break for 15 minutes here and there. And listen, a person can't be on 100% of the time. Your brain, it's hard to work like that. And most of the people, when they're working for themselves, they work very hard. And what you would allow yourself to do, you can't allow yourself to do if you're working for somebody else unless you ask. It's very good we're doing this during Elul, yes? What if he did a mitzvah? He did a mitzvah while he's hired by this person. This will not be considered to be tzedakah for him. It's not a good deed. It's a sin. Because he's taking time out of his employer's schedule to do his mitzvah to God, unless the employer allows that. So you can imagine a situation, sometimes people are working in a store, and they have mincha there. If the employer doesn't mind, or if the employer is actually the one having the mincha, then obviously he doesn't mind that the Jewish employees pray for those 10 or 15 minutes. But to do a minyan in the office, and the employer doesn't give you permission to do that, you just do it without anybody knowing, this is a problem. One would have to ask a rabbi in these situations. Again, he's not posek halacha here, but one can clearly see that there's an issue here. She'en avera mitzvah, because a person cannot do a mitzvah at the same time when he did avera. Ukra ketiv, soneh gazel be'olah. God hates thievery even if you give it to a sacrifice to Hashem. And olah is a sacrifice that goes to God. So the Robin Hood idea, as far as the Torah is concerned, is thievery, period. There goes socialism. And according to this, our rabbis taught us, a person who stole a certain measurement of wheat and he ground it and he baked it and he made a bracha. This is not a bracha. This is basically blasphemy. It's like cursing God. Dichtiv chas v'shalom ubotzea berech ni'etz Hashem. A person who steals and makes a bracha, it's blasphemy. And according to this, it also says, Oy lo lazeh shenaseh sanegoro kategoro. Woe unto the person who makes a mitzvah, which is supposed to be a defender for a person, into a prosecutor, because he did the mitzvah by way of thievery. And like our rabbi said, there's a whole chapter in Masechet Sukkah that deals with stolen lulav. That's the name of the chapter, lulav hagazul. Hadin noten ki hare gazel hefetz gazel, the gezel zman gazel, which means a person steals an object, it's thievery. A person steals time, it's thievery. Ma gozel et hachefetz v'oseh bo mitzvah na'aseh sanegoro kategoro. A person who steals an object and does a mitzvah with it, which means he takes a lulav and he steals it, and he does a mitzvah with it, what he's doing is the mitzvah, which is supposed to be defending him, is actually going to prosecute him. Af gozel et hazman, and also the time. And also a person who involves himself in a mitzvah on his employer's time without the employer's permission, it's the same thing. He's stealing the time, because the Talmud teaches us that when a person is hired for the day, all of his hours are sold to the employer. So even time to God is not included in that. Your time to God has to be your time, not your employer's time. Whew. I remember this was a problem years ago when people used to go by the Bell Parkway. There's a lot of ragweed growing over there. And they would go and they would cut the ragweed and they would use it for the sukkah. They would take the ragweed and they would put them on the sukkah. And it was a big question. You know, if the city gave permission, that's one thing. If the city didn't give permission, even though it's ragweed, and you don't have permission to steal it, it's not hefker. Maybe there's a reason why they have it there. So a person has to check into it. I remember there was a whole thing when I was growing up. That was a big thing that people would do. Nowadays, I guess people are allergic. They don't want to have ragweed in their sukkah.
This is powerful stuff.
This is. I'm
guilty of getting into work early, and I'm like, okay, I don't have to see a patient till 9. I'm in at 7. All right, let me dive in now. But I'm on their time. I shouldn't be doing that. Oh my God. Now I'm going to get in at 6, so I don't have to clock in. I'll clock in after that.
Listen, unless they give you permission. I mean, if they, well, I'm not sure why they would do that.
They're never going to say no, but this is wrong, and now you understand. You know, you think if you're doing it l'shem shamayim, okay, it should be okay. At least you're doing something in the time where you have nothing going on. But this is something that I didn't know, and it's important to. This is gazel.
Baruch Hashem. Listen, we all have to learn.
We all have to grow.
This book has to be learned by everybody because
no.
remember, what did the Talmud say? Rubam begezel. And this is in what time? This is not talking about in our day today. This is talking about in the time of the Talmud.
Also, Kal Vachomer.
Oh my gosh. No. Oh my gosh. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. Yeah. That's why it's tough to be an employee, because especially if you're paid by the hour. If you're paid a salary, you have a job, and then you have to finish the job. And when the job is finished, your job is done. I'm not going to be posek. You have to ask a Rav about that, but that's different. If you're paid by the hour, every hour you pay, then you sold your time.
But even if you're salaried and they're telling you you're getting $50,000 for the year, but you're working a 40-hour week, you have to put your 40 hours.
You have to put your 40 hours. If that's understood, then you have to put your 40 hours. But remember, you can put your 40 hours like this. You can do 5 hours and take a half-hour break to do your own thing, and then do another 2.5 hours, and you've done the 8 hours for the day. It's as opposed to if the business opens at 9 and closes at 5, and you're goofing off in the middle of the day, and that time there's customers who are not being taken care of because you're goofing off, and your employer loses money, not just on your time, but the fact that he could be making money from you selling the items. So it's almost like a double gazelle. You're stealing his time, and you're also stealing by the fact that he's got customers in the store that are not being serviced. They might leave and go someplace else. Yeah, this is tough stuff.
But it's amazing how it's still apropos thousands of years later.
This is human condition.
Yep.
The Ramchal, this is a manual for human beings. It's nature.
Right.
And like you see, we do is we justify it. I'm doing something, it's a mitzvah, it's okay, you know? No, not so simple.
No, I'm not there. Now I know.
Ve'en HaKadosh Baruch Hu hafetz ela be'emunah. What Hashem is looking for is honesty. V'chen hu omer, emunim notzer Hashem. Hashem protects people who are honest. Ve'omer, pithu she'arim ve'avoy goy tzadik shomer emunim. Which means open the gates and let a righteous nation come in. What makes them a righteous nation? That they are careful and they are trustworthy. The Omer, and it also says, Einai b'ne'emnei eret lashevet imadi. My eyes are upon the trustworthy of the land, that they may dwell with me. The Omer, Einecha halo le'emunah. That your eyes are only set towards honesty. Af Iyov ha'idal asmo ve'amar. We see Iyov testified about himself, and what did he say? Im tite ashuri mini hadarech ve'achar einai halach libi uvkapai davak me'um. Translated, if my steps have wandered from the right path, if my mind has gone astray after my eyes, if any stain has stuck to my hands, Ezra'a ve'acher yochel, then may another eat what I sow. Which basically Iyov was saying that no one he ever stole from anybody, and if he did, then they should eat from what he has, that because he doesn't want to have anything that is stolen from other people. Look how appropriate this mashal is, this parable. So what did he do? He showed that the gezel that is not clear, it's hidden, because it's subtle, it's like it attaches to the person's hand. Remember, what did David HaMelech always say? Erchatz benikayon kapai, that my hands are blameless, which means in order for the person to be naki, his hands have to be clean, even of this gezel that is subtle. Even though the person at the outset doesn't want, he's not thinking about that he's stealing, he thinks what he's doing is okay. It attaches itself to his hands. Sof sof biyadohu, it's still in his hand, which means when a person does that, who's benefiting? So if an employer goofs off for 20 minutes, who's benefiting? The employer is not benefiting, the employee is benefiting. So it's stuck to your hand. So that hour that you got paid, you got $20 an hour, and you spent 15 minutes goofing off, you basically were successful in stealing $5 from your employer. Even though the person is not really stealing, he's not going to the employer's bank account and withdrawing $5 out of the bank account. Which means his hands are not completely clean because of he's either stealing time or he's not working properly. All this is why, because the person's heart follows the eyes. That basically what other people have is alluring to him. This is the whole platform of the socialist. The rich people have a lot. We want what they have. So let's create laws. So what we could do is we could take away their money. Wait, where this country's going.
Yeah.
And that's really what socialism is. Socialism is legalized thievery. It's legalized thievery. A person works, and basically you're taking money away from him to give it to someone who is not. I'm not saying, we're not talking charity now. A person's giving charity is a voluntary thing. Mm-hmm. That's different. You are creating laws, and this is thievery. This is government-sanctioned thievery. There's no question about it. And that's why socialism fails, because it's disgusting to God. It's disgusting to God that people think that they're entitled to things for free without working. This is not the way God designed the world. On the doctor side, that happens a lot. The employer expects the physician to see, 5-6 patients an hour. He's got all these patients waiting. He sees the patients, and then he takes work home and does documentation at home. And he's not compensated for that. I mean, he's getting paid a salary 8 hours a day. And the employer gives him so much work that there's no way to complete it in 8 hours. So he basically is getting 10 or 12 hours worth of work for 8 hours. That's thievery. It's the same thing. It's just the other way. Right. Now, it's one thing if the person's lazy and not doing their job, that's different. But if it's the kind of work that no one can accomplish in that period of time in a proper way, then it's basically an employer stealing from his employee, not paying him for his time, forcing him by threats of fire and termination to work more than the allotted time. That's also thievery. Honestly, I'm not sure why that would be any different than the other way. העיניים מושכים את הלב לבקש היתרים ממש שנראה להם יפה ונחמד, which means if a person likes something, they're going to find reasons to justify it. It's like the old saying, every human being has a PhD in rationalization. Al ken amar Iyov shu lo chen asa Iyov, because remember, Iyov calls it tzaddik in the beginning. Hashem says Iyov is a tzaddik, meaning Iyov did not involve himself in any of these things. V'lo halach libo achar einav, and his heart did not go after his eyes. Al ken lo davak bekapav me'um, and that's why nothing was attached to his hands, which means what allows a person to be naki? He's probably going to say this in the next part. How does a person? By not allowing the person's eyes to look after things that are not theirs. Because if you look after it, you're going to figure out a way to rationalize it to get it. Now he's going to bring up another tough mitzvah, which basically is the concept of hona'ah, which is when you trick someone by the amount, by you overcharging them. Kama nakelhu la'adam litpatot v'likashel kasher lichora yera'e lo shera'ui hu lishtadel la'yapot sechorato b'nei anashim listaker b'yagia kapav. Basically what happens, he's convinced that it's proper and right to try to make his merchandise look attractive, which means he's got products that are not so good. What does he do? He takes products that are good and mixes them with the products that are good. And he puts it together and he charges an amount as if the entire thing is all good products. So what happens? The person picks and naturally gets the good product, but he also picks up some of the bad products, and he doesn't realize that those bad products are of a cheaper value. This is even regarding, this is talking about if a person has perishable items, that he has a store and he has fruits, and some fruits are 3 or 4 days old. So what happens? He takes the fruits that are 3 or 4 days old, and he mixes it with the fruits that are brand new, because he wants to get rid of it, and he figures someone's not going to pay attention. This is gezel. This is hona'ah. It's a type of gezel. Ledaber alev hakoneh laman yitzratzelo. And it's another thing. He's marketing. He knows his product is not so good, but he talks it up. He's not lying, but he's embellishing. There's another type of hona'ah. This is a type of gezel. The Yeruah calls there, and it said about all this, yesh zariz v'niskar. There is a person who is industrious that will be rewarded. The yad charotzim ta'ashir, and the hand of the diligent man prospers. But this is not a good thing. This is a negative. But if he does not examine and weigh his actions very, very carefully, what he's doing, instead of wheat, he's going to get thistles. Because he's going to be transgressing the sin of hona'ah, which is basically overcharging or cheating, but not it's not a level of cheating like Lavan did. It's a more subtle type of cheating. As it says, lo tonu ish et amito. It's a lo taseh in the Torah. A person is not allowed to defraud his friend. The rabbis taught us, afilu ramot et hagoy asur. People have a heter. They think for themselves, oh, you know what? It's only a Gentile. It's allowed. This is not allowed. Ukra ketiv, and the pasuk says, "Sherit Yisrael lo ya'asu avla v'lo yidabru chazav v'lo yimatzeh v'fihem lashon tarmit," which means that the remnant of Israel, which means the best of Israel, you don't find in them any type of evil, and you don't find in them, they don't speak in a lying tongue, and you don't find in their mouth any type of trickery and deceit. This is a marketing problem. V'chen amru, and also our rabbi said, En mefarkesin hakelim hayeshanim sheireu kahadashim, that a person is not allowed to embellish old utensils to make them look new. We're not talking about taking silver and removing the tarnish. That's different. Which means a person is not allowed to add all kinds of extra things onto it so it looks like it's new, but it's old, and sell it as if it's new. En me'arvin perot beferot afilu hadashim b'hadashim. As they say here, you're not allowed to mix fresh produce with fresh produce, even if they're the same price. Afilu se'ah b'dinar, afilu yafet dinar v'tasit lo yarev yimkarem se'ah b'dinar. He should not do any of these type of things. Kol ose ele, kol ose avel. Whoever does this is doing evil. Avel, evil. Karui chamisha shemot. Avel, sanui, meshukatz, metoav, cherem, toeva. Such a person is given 5 categories, given 5 designations: unjust, hated, abomination, no use, abhorrent. I mean, these are pretty strong words. Also, our rabbis taught us, Kol hagozel et chavero afilu shaveh pruta ki'ilu notel nafsho mimenu. A person who steals from his friend, even if he only steals something that is shaveh pruta, which is a very, very small amount, is as if he is killing him. And we see from here the gravity of the sin of gezel, even if it's a minimal amount. Then they also said, En hageshamim ne'etzarim ele ba'avon gazel, that the rain doesn't come when this sin is present, which means the rain doesn't stop unless there is this sin. If this sin is there, the rain doesn't come. The odamru kupa mele'a avonot, a basket full of sins. Mi mikatreg berosh kulam. If a person has a basket full of sins, which is the sin that causes the most accusation? Gazel, thievery. This is one of the worst. The dor hamabul lo nechtam gizar dinam ela gazel. And the dor hamabul, why were they destroyed? They were destroyed because of the sin of thievery. And how did they steal, by the way? They thought they were smart. What they did is they went to a guy who had 1,000 apples. And they sent 1,000 people each to take 1 apple.
That's 1,000 averot as opposed to 1 person.
Well, each person did 1 averah. But their goal was to rob him. So where do you see that? The person's in the store. And you're buying things by weights. And you see the fruit there. And you say to yourself, let me taste it and see if it's good. Unless there's a sign saying that you can do that, or you ask permission, that is gezel. And these are the things, even though it's gezel, these are things that you think are okay, and that's why people do them. You see in the store, you see somebody doing that. This is why, in order to get, this is the trait of naki, which means you have to be clean, blameless, which means you don't even come to a situation where there's a thought that you might be transgressing a lo taseh in the Torah. And if you're going to say in your heart, how are we supposed to do business? How are we supposed to sell if we don't embellish on the products? If we don't, how are we supposed to do business? Chiluk gadol yesh badavar. There's a big difference. What's the difference? Ki kol mashu leharot et hakonim amitat tova chefetz v'yofyo. If he's going to honestly show the person who is buying what the good quality of the item that he's selling, Hine ha'hishtadlut hahu tov v'yashar. This is allowed. Ach mashu lechasot mumechevtzo. But what he's trying to do to cover up the blemishes in the items, eno ela honat ve'asur, ena honah ve'asur. This is honah and this is asur. Which means if you want to tell the great virtues of the products, that's fine. But you're not allowed to do things to cover up the blemishes. And this is what it means to be honest in business. Being honest in business doesn't mean you just don't steal from the customer by shortchanging him. This is where it says nasata v'natata be'emunah. Were you honest in business? Which means were you careful about these things? Not just that you were changing the weights and measures. This is clearly not allowed. But that you were embellishing the products, you were taking away the blemishes, you're making things look good when they don't look so good. Lo omar minyana midot. He doesn't have to mention dishonesty with measurements. Shareh befirush katuv bahem. The Torah talks about this clearly. To'avat Hashem Elokecha kol ose ele, kol ose avel. This is an abomination to God. Anybody who does any of these types of things, any of this evil. The Ramru Zichronon v'Chana, our rabbis taught us, kashe onsham shel midot me onshan shel arayot. Tricking and cheating people with measures is worse than cheating them with sexual sins. The punishment is worse, even though on the outset it doesn't appear that way, because the punishment for thievery is you have to pay double if you get caught. The punishment for arayot is karet. But what happens when the Jewish people are not careful with midot and mishkalot? Amalek comes. And when Amalek comes, what happens? Jews die. And anyone who is involved in thievery is responsible for that Jewish death. Chas v'shalom. The Amru, Hasiton mekaneach midotav. A wholesaler must wipe his measures clean every 30 days, which means because over the course of time, what happens? Stuff gets stuck to the scale. There's a certain cleaning that you have to do on a regular basis in order to make sure that it's clean and that it is not that's not got gook in there that's weighing it down, and over the course of time you're making money from the gook that's in there that you're not selling. V'chol kach laman. Why this? Kidei shelo yichseru b'lo dat v'lo ya'anesh. That they're not in any way, shape, or form. He doesn't realize that there's gook accumulating on there, but this is in order to prevent him from stealing or in a way that he doesn't even realize he's stealing and not get punished. Kol sheken avon haribit. And how much more so is the sin of interest? Shegadol hu kekofer belokei Yisrael. A person who charges interest is like a kofer. He's like a denier of the Lord, of the God of Israel. Chas v'shalom, God forbid. The Amru Zichronam Nivrachala Pasuk, and our rabbis of blessed memory said on the Pasuk, Baneshech Natan v'tarbit lakach v'chai lo yichyeh. He has loaned at interest and collected with increase. Shall he then live? She'eno chai l'tchiyat hametim. He does not wake up in the resurrection of the dead. If he has interest, charges interest to his fellow Jews, he has no techiyat hametim. Kihu ve'avak shelo meshukatz meto'av b'nei Hashem. That he and his dust, which means when the person decomposes in the ground, that's supposed to clean the person of their sins. But this sin of ribit, even when the person decomposes in the ground, he's not cleaned of it. And he says, I don't have to go into details about this. Shkvar emato mutelat al kol ish Yisrael. Everybody understands this. All right, let's do the klal and then we'll stop at the bottom of this page. Omnam klalol shel davar. In summation, how do we summarize what we've said so far? K'mo shechemdat hamamon rabah, just like the desire for money is tremendous. Ken machshelotav rabim. the pitfalls are much greater. So a person can truly be blameless with regarding his business dealings. Iyun gadol b'diduk rav tzarich lo. He has to be vigilant. He has to be very, very careful. He has to pay attention to the details and scrutinize all of them. V'im nika mimenu yeda v'shegia kvar l'madraga gedola. And if he's able to clean himself from all this stuff, he can be assured that he's already achieved a very, very high level. Ki rabim yitchasdu ba'anafim harabim me'anfei chasidut. Because there are many people who are able to act piously in many areas of piety. U'beinyan sinata betza, but specifically regarding hating monetary things, which means the money part, lo yachlu lagia mechos sheshlemut. This they don't arrive, which means they could be machmir and everything else in the Torah to certain levels that are amazing. But this, when it comes time to monetary meanings, this is not. They're not so machmir. They're not so machmir because it's all business, and this is a major, major, major pitfall. Humash amar sofar hana'amati le'Iyov. This is what sofar the na'amati, which is one of the people that came to talk to Iyov. And what did he say? Im aven biyadecha harchikehu v'al tashken be'ohalecha avla. If there is any type of iniquity in your hand, put it far away. And let not injustice dwell in your tents, which means this is something God hates, this dishonesty, this level of dishonesty. Ki az tisa fanecha mimum ve'ayita mutzak ve'lo tira. Then you will be steadfast, and you shall lift up your face without blemish, and you shall be steadfast and shall not fear. Okay, I think we're going to stop here. It's a good place to stop. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.